HOA tries to steal my historic home. I exposed their racist fraud and bankrupted them. My house was here when this entire county was nothing but a dirt road and a dream. Built in 1874 by a railroad tycoon, it's a sprawling Victorian painted a deep midnight blue with intricate white trim. It has a wraparound porch, a slate roof, and a wrought iron fence that is older than the great-grandparents of everyone living in the estates at Willow Creek that now surrounds me. That's the problem. The estates, and what they represented. About 10 years ago, a developer bought the farm fields surrounding my 3-acre property. They slapped up 200 identical beige and gray luxury homes. They built a gate. They formed a homeowners association, and they tried to buy me out. I told the developer to kick rocks. My deed is distinct. It was carved out of the county plat map before the HOA was even a glint in a lawyer's eye. My property line is the border of their little kingdom, but I am not in their kingdom. I am an island in a sea of beige mediocrity. And I am a black man, living in a house that predates their community standards. For years, it was fine. The immediate neighbors were mostly older, pleasant people. They genuinely appreciated the historic charm my house added. They liked that a black family was thriving in such a beautiful, historic home. Then came Brenda. Brenda Thompson was elected HOA President 6 months ago on a platform of uniformity and compliance. She was a white woman in her late 40s, always perfectly coiffed, with a laser focus on rules. She was the type who measured grass with a ruler and fined people for leaving their garage doors open for more than 10 minutes. She hated my house. She hated the color. It's not on the approved beige palette. She hated my fence. Iron is aggressive. We only allow white vinyl. But mostly, I believe, she hated that I existed, owning such a prominent piece of history, so visibly outside of her control and her vision for Willow Creek. The first letter arrived on a Tuesday. Violation notice. Unapproved exterior paint color. Fine, $500, cure within 14 days or face escalation. I laughed. I tore it up and threw it in my antique fireplace. I've lived here for 20 years. My house has always been this color. The second letter came a week later. Violation notice. Failure to maintain lawn standards. Grass height exceeds 2.5 inches. Fine, $250. I tore that one up too. I like my grass a little longer. It's healthier for the soil and attracts more birds. Plus, it's my grass. My personal, historically significant grass. Then Brenda showed up. I was sitting on my wraparound porch, restoring an old rocking chair, when she marched up my stone walkway. She was wearing a neon yellow polo shirt with HOA President embroidered on it, carrying a clipboard like a shield. Her face was already set in a rigid mask of indignation. "Mr. Henderson!" she barked. She stood about 20 feet away as if my porch was contaminated. I didn't look up from my sanding. "Brenda, to what do I owe this distinct pleasure?" "You are ignoring our notices," she snapped, her voice tight. "You have accrued over $3,000 in fines in the last month. If you don't pay, we will take legal action." I finally looked at her. I set my sandpaper down. "Brenda, let's make this simple. I don't pay your fines because I'm not in your club. My house isn't part of the estates. Never has been, never will be." She let out a huff that sounded like a deflating tire. "That is a lie. You use our roads to get here. You are surrounded by our community. That makes you a member by implication. It's called constructive acquiescence. We have a lawyer, Mr. Henderson, and we are going to bring this eyesore into compliance." Her eyes flickered over my dark blue house, then pointedly, almost contemptuously, at my dark skin. The implication wasn't subtle. You and eyesore were intertwined. "My house is an eyesore?" I asked, looking pointedly at her generic, mass-produced house across the street, all beige and indistinguishable. "It doesn't match!" she shrieked, taking a step closer. "It disrupts the visual harmony. You will paint it sand dune beige, or we will paint it for you and bill you triple." "Get off my property, Brenda," I said calmly, my voice dropping. "And tell your lawyer to check the county plat maps from 1874. My deed predates your entire subdivision." She stormed off, scribbling furiously on her clipboard. "You'll regret this. No one tells me no." I thought that was the end of it. Just a crazy, entitled neighbor venting, frustrated that she couldn't exert control over a black man who refused to conform. I was wrong. 2 months later, I went to the bank to refinance my mortgage. I wanted to pull some equity out to redo the slate roof and fix some of the original copper guttering. The loan officer, a guy I'd known for years, looked at his computer screen and frowned. "Arthur, we have a problem. I can't approve the refinance." My heart sank. "Why not? My credit is perfect. My house value is through the roof." "It's not your credit or the value," he said, turning the screen toward me. "There's a cloud on the title. A lien." My stomach dropped. "A lien? From who?" "The estates at Willow Creek Homeowners Association," he read, his voice disbelieving. "They filed a mechanic's lien and a foreclosure notice for $25,000 in unpaid fines and legal fees. Arthur, this says they have a judgment against you." I stared at him. They put a lien on my house? My house that is explicitly not part of their HOA? According to this, they claim you're a delinquent member. Arthur, if you don't contest this, they can legally foreclose on your home to satisfy the debt. They can take your house. This wasn't just petty harassment. This was outright theft, an attempt to dispossess a black man of his ancestral land, his historic home, under the guise of community standards. I left the bank in a cold rage. I didn't go home. I went straight to the county recorder's office. I pulled the file. There it was, a fraudulent document signed by Brenda, claiming that I was a delinquent member of the HOA, that I had agreed to the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs, and that I owed them a fortune. She had actually submitted a falsified membership agreement, claiming my property was part of the original subdivision plan, which it absolutely was not. She had lied, under oath essentially, to a county clerk. This wasn't annoyance. This wasn't even harassment. This was title fraud. This was slander of title. This was a felony. I called my lawyer, a shark named Saul Goodman, no relation to the TV character but just as ruthless, who specialized in real estate litigation. When I told him the details, he didn't laugh. He let out a low, dangerous growl. "She did what? Arthur, do not say a word to her. Don't engage. Let her play her hand. We're going to prepare a quiet title action to clear your name and a massive lawsuit. But first, let's let her dig her own grave deeper." The climax happened 3 days later. I woke up to the sound of a diesel engine idling in my driveway. I looked out the window. It was a moving truck, and a white van labeled Precision Locksmith, and Brenda's SUV. She was there to repossess my house. She was there to evict me. It was 8 a.m. I pulled on my best suit. I knotted my tie. I grabbed my phone and hit the speed dial for the sheriff's non-emergency line. I'd already briefed Sheriff Thompson, a good man and a buddy of mine from the local Rotary Club, on the situation. "It's happening, Sheriff," I told the dispatcher. "Brenda Thompson. My address. They're attempting a fraudulent eviction. Send a unit." I grabbed my coffee, my original deed, and walked out onto the porch. Brenda was standing in the middle of my driveway, directing the locksmith and the movers. She was wearing her bright pink blazer and her HOA President sash. "Drill the locks!" she was shouting. "I want the front and back doors secured immediately. The eviction notice was posted." "Brenda!" I called out, my voice resonating with calm authority. She turned, a triumphant, almost gleeful sneer on her face. Her eyes, full of disdain, raked over my tailored suit, as if it were a costume. "Mr. Henderson, you are trespassing. This property has been seized by the HOA for non-payment. You have 1 hour to vacate the premises before I have these movers put your junk on the curb." The locksmith, a young white guy holding a drill, looked at me, then at her. He looked confused. "Lady, He's still in the house. You said it was abandoned. It is legally abandoned, she screamed, her voice cracking with fury. He has no right to be there. Drill it. I walked down the steps, my movements deliberate. I didn't shout. I didn't wave my arms. I just held up a single piece of paper. A photocopy of the original patent deed for the Blackwood estate, dated 1874, signed by the governor of the state at the time, the very foundation of my claim. Brenda, I said, my voice low and firm, you are attempting to commit burglary. That's a crime. It's a foreclosure, she yelled, waving a paper of her own, the fraudulent lien. We have a lien. We own this house now. We're going to tear it down and build the new community center and pool right here. That was her true plan. She didn't just want me to paint the house. She wanted the land. She wanted to erase the one thing that made her beige, uniform kingdom look cheap and historically shallow. She wanted to remove the visible reminder of a different kind of ownership. You have a fraudulent lien, I said, and you are about to have a very bad day. Do it, she screamed at the locksmith, her face turning crimson. Drill the lock or I'm not paying you. The locksmith hesitated. He looked at me, at the suit, at the deed. He looked uncertain. I took a sip of coffee. Son, I said, if you touch that door, you're an accessory to a felony. Look at the road. He looked. Two sheriff's cruisers, clearly marked and unmistakably real, turned the corner. They didn't have their sirens on, but they were moving with purpose. They pulled into the driveway, boxing in Brenda's SUV and the moving truck. Brenda looked confused, then elated. Good! Finally! Officers! She waved at them frantically. Remove this squatter! He refuses to leave HOA property! Two deputies stepped out. One was Deputy Miller, a seasoned officer who I knew from community events. He adjusted his belt, his eyes assessing the scene. What's the problem here, Brenda? Miller asked, his tone surprisingly flat. Brenda's jaw dropped slightly at the familiar tone, but she quickly recovered. This man, she pointed a shaking finger at me, is a squatter. The HOA has foreclosed on this home. I have the paperwork right here. She shoved her clipboard at him. Miller didn't take it. He looked at me, his gaze acknowledging the Arthur on the deed in my hand. Morning, Mr. Henderson. I believe you called us? Morning, Jim, I said. Yes, this lady is trespassing. She's attempting to break into my home, and she's filed fraudulent documents with the county in an attempt to steal my property. Lies! Brenda shrieked. Read the lien. It's filed with the county. Brenda, I said, cutting her off, my voice sharp. The Blackwood estate is 150 years old. The estates at Willow Creek HOA was formed in 2012. My deed has no covenants with your association. I am not a member. You filed a false instrument with a government office. That's a Class B felony. She stammered, her face paling. But constructive acquiescence. He uses the roads. She looked desperately at Deputy Miller. It's for the greater good. We don't want that here. Her gesture encompassed me, my house, and everything it represented. That's an admission, I said quietly, looking at Deputy Miller. Miller turned to Brenda. His face was grim. Ma'am, that's not how real estate law works, and constructive acquiescence is not a legal defense for filing fraudulent liens or attempted burglary. Did you file a lien on a property that isn't in your jurisdiction? He should be in the jurisdiction, she yelled, losing her composure entirely. He's ruining the neighborhood. It's for the greater good. That's enough, ma'am, Miller said. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. What? She screeched. It was a sound like tearing metal. You can't arrest me. I'm the president. I have the authority. You're under arrest for attempted burglary, filing false documents, and harassment, Miller said, clicking the cuffs onto her wrists. The locksmith, white as a sheet, immediately started packing his drill back into his van. I didn't know, man. She showed me papers, he shouted at me. Just go. I told him, and send her the bill for the trip. As they put Brenda in the back of the cruiser, she was still screaming, "My husband is a lawyer! We'll sue you! You can't stop progress!" Her shouts about progress and the greater good were finally muffled by the closing door of the patrol car. But it wasn't over. My lawyer, Saul, went to work. We didn't just get the fraudulent lien removed. We sued the HOA. We sued them for slander of title. We sued for malicious prosecution. We sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress, emphasizing the racial targeting and harassment. And because Brenda had acted in her capacity as president, the HOA's insurance policy was on the hook. But here's the kicker. The insurance company investigated. When they found out Brenda had intentionally filed false documents and committed outright fraud, they denied the claim. Fraud isn't covered. That meant the HOA itself and its funds were liable. We won a judgment of $300,000. The HOA didn't have that kind of cash in reserves. They had to levy a special assessment on every single member of the community to pay me. Every neighbor in those 200 beige houses got a bill for $1,500 because Brenda tried to steal my house. You can imagine how popular Brenda became. She wasn't just removed from the board, she was effectively run out of town. She was charged with multiple felonies and faced jail time. She and her husband sold their house 3 months later and moved 2 states away. The new HOA board? They sent me a handwritten apology and a very expensive fruit basket. They also signed a legally binding document acknowledging in perpetuity that the Blackwood estate is not, never was, and never will be part of their association. I used the settlement money to put on a new slate roof, and I painted all the intricate trim on my house a bright, vibrant, unapologetic violet, just because I can. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on my porch and look out at the quiet beige neighborhood. I sip my whiskey and think about Brenda. She wanted uniformity. She wanted control. She wanted to erase history, and in doing so, erase me. Instead, she just paid for my renovations. History tends to repeat itself, they say. But in my case, history just stood its ground, a proud blue and violet beacon, and the future broke itself against the front door. Subscribe for more powerful stories of justice and pro-revenge, like If You Stand Against HOA Overreach and Racial Discrimination.